Well, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to obviously the Chamber Business Bites today. I'm Marion Turner. I'm the Membership Development Manager at Kent and Victor Chamber of Commerce. And today I'm really lucky to have helping me on this today is Annie Breen. She's from our events team. Annie, just as far as she logged in, broke her camera. So you can't see her at the moment, but she is here in the background. She's looking after everything for us. I just wanted to mention just really quickly, we've got two charities on today. We've obviously got Peter Brook from West Kent Mine, one of our chamber members, and we've also got Tony from Cyclo Park, both our charities at the chamber. So if you're thinking about supporting a charity, please take a look at them. And obviously our charity of the year at the chamber this year is 21 Together, who are obviously a Down syndrome charity. So well worth sort of supporting, all based in Kent, really great causes. So if your company is looking towards a charity, then please think about them. I'm going to introduce you in a couple of seconds to Lisa. Lisa is from Stallard Kane. They're an arm of Towergate, one of our patron members. She's going to be doing a presentation for us, and at the end we'll have questions and answers. So if everybody could be kind enough to just hang on to your questions, and then we can throw them all at Lisa once we've actually finished, and she will contact you after just to see if there is anything else she can help you with. So welcome, Lisa. I'm going to hand over to you and let you begin.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon all, and thanks for joining. I'm just going to share my slides, and don't worry, it's not death by PowerPoint. I don't want to be sharing that with you. Bear with me. Can you all see that?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, excellent. Okay, in light of the new Labour government, as Marion pointed out, I'm Business Development Manager at Stallard Kane. We are the risk arm for Towergate Insurance Brokers, and they actually form part of the Ardonna Group, which is one of the UK's largest insurance intermediaries. So I deal with all of their clients for anything to do with risk, health and safety, and HR. And being a patron member of Kent Invicta Chamber of Commerce, we're actually delighted to support today and deliver, today's business bites. Now, there is so much hearsay at the moment with the new government around the employment rights bill, which is worrying a lot of small to medium businesses. And I thought it might just be really useful for you all just to go over what good compliance looks like. What do you actually need? I've been in this sector for about 10 years, and there's always confusion from a business point of view as to what's needed. So as Marion said, any questions, please ask me at the end, and I should try and give you a nice succinct overview of what's happening and where you need to be right now. So for any business in the UK at the moment, there is an organisation called the Health and Safety Exec. It used to be government owned. That changed in 2019. And they now make their money by sort of unannounced visits to small to medium businesses and checking that you've got your 5 legal pillars in place. Now, this applies to any business with 5 staff on PAYE, irrespective of the business type. Okay, and whether you have an actual office or whether all of your staff are based from home. So the first thing, which I'm sure you're all very well aware of, is a health and safety policy. But where there is some confusion over this, often when I talk to directors of small business, they go, yep, we've got one of those, it hangs in the kitchen. It's not the poster, it should be a policy around 50 to 100 pages long, even for a small business, and it's really important that you get your staff to sign that every year when it's updated. So there must be an audit trail in place, and you physically need to have a signature on that. The reason being, if there was an accident or anything like that, your commercial insurance is unlikely to pay out, okay, if you haven't done your part as an employer to make sure that your staff are aware of what the health and safety policy is. The other one that seems to cause a lot of confusion, I'm based at home when I'm not based in my car up and down the country, is training. So even me working out of my office at home, I still need to have annual training on fire risk awareness, slips, trips and falls, things like that. And then I'll come on to that in a bit more detail on the next couple of slides of what training is required. And also, as a small business or larger business, you're going to have risk or method statements. Now, to to understand what they actually are if you're not aware of them. It's basically a document that is going to outline what possible risks there are when you're carrying out a particular piece of work. And lastly, you need a health and safety competent person. So these are all of the 5 things that you need. Okay. And if you don't outsource your health and safety, in other words, use a business like ours, the directors of the business, the sole ownership relies on them for health and safety. So I guess a good question to ask yourself is, am I confident dealing with health and safety if there was an accident? Do I know what I would do? A lot of people say, oh, I'd phone up my insurance company, but generally it's making sure that you're competent and you've got that peace of mind that you know that you can deal with that. So that's sort of what's required from a legal point of view. And as I say, the HSE, the Health and Safety Exec, are the people that set these rules, and there's sort of no difference whether you're an IT company or a construction company as to what you have to have in place. This is it. So training, as I say, legal requirement, you can see from that slide some of the main ones. Now, manual handling, you might think, well, you know, what is that? Even if you're sort of lifting a box of photocopying paper, I know you could argue, well, the world's gone a bit mad when it comes to health and safety. PPE speaks for itself. Displays, screen equipment and loan working, they're fairly new. And there's some others that came into force last year, which is stress management, would you believe? COSH, if you're working with chemicals. Health and well-being is another one. Driving safely and working at height. So when we talk about a training matrix, what do we mean by that? What does the HSE want to see when they come in unannounced? They will actually want a document with all of your staff's names down the side, the date they were trained and what they were trained on, okay, and when that training is due to be trained again. Now, if you do what they call toolbox talk, so for any construction, or I think we've got an electrical contractors on this call as well, if you're doing toolbox talks, you're going to have to evidence what was talked about, and if that training form part of that, again, it needs to be dated and when it's due next. So it's quite in depth, and the way that we certainly get around that is we have like a training platform that our staff can log on to. They do their training, sort of modules 10 to 15 minutes long, get a certificate, and then the system reminds them when they need to take it again. So it takes that ownership away from you having to worry about what needs to be done. Risk solution. So depending on, you know, whether you own or lease a premises, there are certain things that need to be done all of the time. So a fire risk assessment is every 3 years, sometimes a bit more often if you've got members of the general public coming into your offices. That will be required by your insurers as well. PAT testing, so anything with a plug is going to need testing. That needs to be done all of the time, sort of annually. Sometimes electrical installation report, DSEER assessments, fire alarm, etc., etc. Now, if you lease a office, you'll need to check what your agreement is with the landlord, but many landlords will not do the fire risk assessments. If you're in like an office block, they might require you to do your own fire risk assessment and things like PAT testing. So you just need to understand what that agreement you have with them and who, you know, whose responsibility is it. It's not always just down to the landlord. Okay, the big news at the moment, if you ever watch the news and cheer yourself up by watching it recently, there's something called the Employment Rights Bill. There's been a lot of talk about what is that, and it's since Labour came into force, what are they doing? So we support our businesses with employment law, and we help with things like tribunals, staff retention, contracts, things like that. At the moment, the Labour government are trying to put into place a body, if you like, which we're expecting it to happen at the end of this year, a bit like the HSE, but for employment law. And there'll be a number of new rules coming into force in April next year and again October. One of those that you may have heard about is the 2-year rule when it comes to, you know, can an employee take you to a tribunal? That hasn't happened yet. It's not happening anytime soon, but it's likely to happen within the next 12 to 18 months. So I just wanted to clear that up because it's the first thing that I usually get asked what's happening with that. So just talking of HR in general, if you have contracts of employment for your staff, which you need to have, that's a legal requirement from day one of their employment, they should be updated annually. And you're probably thinking, why do I need to do that? And the reason is every April and October legislation does change. Last year, for example, around this time, there were 26 key changes in HR. So things around maternity, paternity, all sorts of things. So, you know, in order to protect your businesses, it's important when it comes to contracts of employment that if there was, for example, let's say you had a disciplinary with a member of your staff, or you decided to let somebody go and they had been with you for 2 years as it stands at the moment, they felt that they wanted to go to a tribunal, you need to be confident that your contract of employment is watertight. Also, it sort of, by having those updated annually, it nips sort of HR problems in the bud, and having your HR policies updated as well. So we always suggest a legal professional to do that for you. We are legal professionals in that field, so that's something that we do for our staff. As standard, we update their contracts and their policies. It's worth pointing out subcontractors, if you've got regular subcontractors, that they have the same rights as an employee now. Okay, some of you may remember there was a big case a number of years ago with Pimlico Plumbers. One of their subcontractors took Pimlico Plumbers to court around holiday pay and won the case. So we always advise, if you've got regular subcontractors, that you get them to sign off on your policies. Obviously, you don't need to give them a contract, but just so they understand what your expectations are when you're carrying out work for them. And the one thing I would also suggest with your own HR is document everything. And make sure that you keep a clear record of what's happened with any meetings. We automatically do that for our clients and offer them support, and then follow up with any letters that are needed as a result of a meeting. But gone are the days, whatever type of business you know that you're running or that you're part of, can you have a conversation with a member of staff and not document it? It just isn't worth it. So some key changes that we know are definitely happening in April 2026. Employees will be able to request paternity leave from day one, and they will also have parental leave rights from day one. There's going to be more protections around whistleblowing, and the Fair Work Agency, again, that's like the HSE, but for employment law, that will be established. Statutory sick pay in April next year, there's going to be a removal of the lower earnings limit and waiting period, so you'll no longer have to wait, I think it's 3 days at the moment, before you can claim statutory sick pay. That obviously is a worry for some small to medium businesses, because they're worried that they're going to get more sort of absence as a result of that. There's going to be simplification of the trade union recognition process. Hopefully that doesn't affect too many of you, but it might do. And there's also a gender pay cap and menopause action plans that are going to be introduced that will later come into force in 2027. So they are the key ones. Before you know it, it will be Christmas and we will be in April. So my recommendation is, if your contracts haven't been looked at for some time and your policies, please do get them looked at and make sure that they fall in line with what's happening. HR training. So we talked about health and safety training. It's good practice to make sure that you're training your staff on what you can see in front of you there. So bullying and harassment is a big one. Again, the platform we use automatically does that as part of the training. Sexual harassment, again, and worker protection. There's been so much around sexual harassment, so it's just good practice that everybody takes a training course, on what that looks like. Data protection, that's been around for a long time, and equality, diversity and inclusion is fairly new, sort of for about 12 months. Cybersecurity awareness, big in the news at the moment. You've got Jaguar have not been able to do anything since August, so it's good to do some cybersecurity awareness with your staff, and tackling mental health, which will help with things like absence management, and just ensuring that your staff are aware of what's required around mental health. So that leads me nicely into any questions. I'm going to stop sharing so that I can see you all, and hopefully that gives you a nice succinct overview. And I think timing wise we're okay as well. So any questions from anybody?
Hiya, sorry, Claire from Volmec here.
Hello, Claire.
Hello. Hiya. I just had a question regarding the mandatory training.
Yes.
Is that would it be e-learning?
Yeah, so it can be e-learning, it can be done face to face. Some businesses send their staff out to courses. That can be quite a costly way of doing it, but we offer an e-learning platform with all of the training that's required. If that's something, it's a lot of small businesses find that a lot easier. So when there's a quieter period, usually the week before Christmas, sometimes, you can get your staff to do their modules, they get their certificates, and then they're not due to next year.
Are you able to send the link for your platform?
Of course I can, yeah. I can send you a brochure as opposed to a link. And then if you want to have anything else, I'll do that for everyone, as well as our health and safety and HR brochures, so you've got everything.
Right, thank you. And then just another one, all the policies that need signing, that's all of them, so not just the health and safety?
No, so your health and safety policy is a standalone document that needs signing every time it's updated, which is usually once a year, or it should be once a year. Your HR policies, so that could be things around drug and alcohol misuse, social media. It's really important you get them signed. What some businesses I find that I go and see do, they have all of that in place, and as part of the onboarding, they give them the policies, but they don't actually get a signature. So either in your contracts of employment, you can sort of say, by accepting this, you agree to our policies, okay? But you just need something, and obviously you need to make sure you've issued them. And if you're updating an HR policy, then you'll need to get an additional signature on that if there's a new one, for example, like the stress management or something, if you don't already have it.
Yeah, we do have all of those in place, but it's just they're only signed by the directors at the moment. So
okay, so definitely get your staff to sign them. So to give your sort of an analogy of that, if somebody came into work and they hadn't signed their drug and alcohol misuse, for example, and you could smell alcohol and you have a disciplinary with them and you decide to let them go, and then they think, do you know what, I think I've got an unfair dismissal. If that went to court, and I'm being very black and white, the fact that they haven't signed off on that policy, they can say they didn't understand, they weren't supposed to do that. And actually you're in a very weak position then. Right.
But you can just put that, like you said, in the contract, just saying you agree to all our policies.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks.
No problem. Any more? Very quiet. Was anybody... Sorry.
Yeah, sorry.
That's okay. No, please.
My name's Tim. I'm from Light Graphics.
Hello, Tim.
Hello. You're talking about the Fair Work Agency.
Yes, that's been introduced next year. Yeah.
Are they going to just roll up, and will they have the same powers the HSC have?
It's difficult to say, Tim, at this point in time, but essentially that's what we've heard that they are going to be there to do. Okay. So I think in the early days, and I'm guessing here, probably not. Okay, because any new policy has to go through and get approved, or any reform, should I say. But eventually I think that is their plan, to have them like the HSC, that they will be able to, to check whether companies are abiding by the rules.
And do you think they will be using fee for intervention in the same way the HSC do at some point? or is it going to be
Do I
government funded?
personally think? Yeah, I do. Yeah,
You do, yeah.
yeah.
Okay,
But
then.
that's my personal opinion.
Sure. And just one other thing, you were talking about having all these things re-signed.
Yeah.
Is this is this something you guys can help us with, or?
Absolutely, yeah. So what we do, apart from, preparing documentation and giving you advice and support,
Yeah.
everything we do gets put onto a platform like a health and safety and HR or one or the other.
Okay.
And we load all your documents there once we've prepared them. So we don't use templates like a lot of companies do. You might have heard of
Sure.
HR and health and safety. And then that platform allows you to get e-signatures on all of that documentation. So when there's new contracts of employment, your staff can log on and it will say there's a new document here that requires your signature. So it just makes it easy, because otherwise it can be a bit of a pain if you've got new
Sure. Yeah, I was
policies
thinking
to
about
get them
we have.
signed. Yeah, I know. I was with the director the other day and he said, oh gosh, if I got to get everybody, they had sort of 50 staff, I've got to get 50 staff to sign off on this. And
I mean,
so we just do an online platform
I was
to
thinking
help with
also
that.
about the risk assessments. I mean, we review them every year.
Yeah.
But I didn't realise you had to actually get everyone who the risk, on that piece of machinery to actually sign off against it.
Yeah, the risk assessments, again, they would also be loaded on the system, so you can get signatures against those.
Okay, then. But they would be in the same style that we've issued them, with our heading and everything on them, or do you?
We do two things with risk assessments. We can either prepare your risk assessments for you and give you bespoke risk assessments for your particular business, or we can give you templates. But if you've got your own risk assessments that you like using, you can upload those to the platform.
Yeah, and also I noticed you didn't really speak about it, but Desir,
yeah.
Is that something you guys provide?
Yes, we do. So anything like PAT testing, Desir, Kosh, Legionella, we do all of those. Again, at the end, I'll email you the brochure on what we call risk solution. So you've got that there as well.
So you'd actually send somebody
we would send
here
somebody
to
out to do that, and things like fire risk assessments,
Yeah, that's great. Thank you very much.
No problem, Tim. I hope that was helpful.
Very helpful.
Good. Any questions from anybody else?
Well, that's looking really good, Lisa. Well done.
Good. Thank you very much.
I hope you enjoyed it all. I know there was a question in the box, and I think Lisa's mentioned, but Annie will be sending out, obviously, today's slides and presentation. And I think then Lisa will be dropping an email just to thank you for coming along today. And obviously there'll be her details on that email if you want to email back. I just want to double check. Hopefully there is no more questions, and that you found it really interesting. I certainly did, Lisa. I learned loads of things, really.
Good.
I'm learning all the time. So that's great. So it's really interesting to come along and listen to what you have to say. So thank you ever so much for doing that. We really appreciate it on behalf of Towergate and the Chamber. It was well worth, I think, everybody coming along to listening to. As I say, the Chamber does do lots of events and lots of these virtual business networking. So if you do want to log on to anything, do have a look on our website and do sort of make sure that you log on and come along, because it'd be lovely to see you. Well, I'm 3 minutes early, so I'm really pleased with that. I just checked with Annie, our back end, that she hasn't got any messages that I've missed. Annie, is everything okay back end? We haven't missed any messages at all?
Yeah, no, all good, Mariam.
Okay, that's lovely.
Sorry, just a very quick question from me.
Yeah.
I got the list through, but I don't have everybody's email address on that. So shall I email, I think it was
Annie.
Annie, yeah, I'll email Annie and just ask for any emails I'm missing.
Yeah.
Okay, lovely.
Annie will update you on any information you need. Obviously, she's in our events team at the Chamber. She'd be your point of contact. Thank you very much, everybody. I hope you have a lovely afternoon and keep enjoying the sunshine, and hopefully see you all soon. Take care and have a lovely